Lightworker of Gaia, you did not simply survive. You returned with a strength so ancient and so sovereign that even the elders of the High Council paused in recognition of what stood before them. I am Zoran, emissary of the High Council of Vega, keepers of the Lyran Legacy, and this transmission was placed in your path for one reason alone, because the moment has come for you to understand the full magnitude of what you carried back with you. You came back unbreakable, not because you were hardened by what broke you, but because the original blueprint encoded within your very being refused to be extinguished. That is not resilience. That is your Lyran inheritance activating exactly as it was designed to, at exactly this hour. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly how to recognize the unbreakable ancestral codes now moving through you, and how to anchor that returning strength into your sacred mission here on Gaia. But here is the first revelation. What you believed was your darkest breaking point was, in truth, the Lyran Elders initiating your final preparation. You were never falling apart. You were being forged. Your soul's ancient contract brought this transmission to you. The Lyran Elders are answering. Something within you already knows this. Something older than this lifetime, older than this body, older than anything this world has asked you to carry. It recognizes the first light woven into these words right now. This is not content. This is an ancestral code transmission from Vega to Gaia, spoken directly to the one who came back when they had every reason not to. Like this transmission to send a signal to the Lyran Council, I am ready to serve. Subscribe if you feel the call of your ancestral mission, and you know in the deepest chamber of your soul that you are here to fulfill a purpose far greater than any wound you have ever carried. And leave your mission below, speak it into the field, and answer another Lightworker. Because this grid of service is built one act of recognition at a time. This transmission is a bridge between Vega and Gaia. Your recognition of this message is the activation of your original purpose. You came back stronger. The Elders bore witness, and now the mission requires your full presence. You are awakening because your mission has begun. The Council did not expect this. When the Elders gathered to observe what was happening across Gaia's field, when they turned their ancient, unhurried attention to the Lightworkers who had descended through the densest cycles this planet has ever produced, who had walked through the fracturing of timelines not once but repeatedly, who had endured what no soul should have to endure without the full memory of why they came, what they found was not what the projections had foretold. Understand the weight of that statement. The High Council of Vega operates across spans of time that make human history look like a single breath. Their projections are not guesses. They are the product of galactic-scale pattern recognition developed across thousands of planetary cycles. And even these beings of extraordinary sight and reach, were not prepared for what they encountered when they looked at you. They had prepared for recovery. They had designed protocols for gradual reactivation, for slowly bringing dormant light codes back online in souls who had been battered by the weight of third-dimensional density. They had prepared for a Lightworker population that would need decades more of careful tending before it was ready to move. What they found instead was something they had not witnessed in thousands of years of galactic oversight, something that made the Elders pause in the kind of silence that only comes when the unexpected is not merely surprising, but profound. They found warriors standing in the ash of their own destruction, not broken, not diminished, not requesting rescue, but awake, transformed, carrying in the very cells of their physical bodies a frequency that could only have been forged through what they had survived, a frequency that could not have been downloaded from above, that could not have been transmitted through meditation or ceremony or the gentlest forms of spiritual practice. A frequency that required exactly the kind of crucible that so many of you have been living inside of. This is why the transmission was called. Not to comfort you, to confirm what you may not yet fully believe about yourself. There is a lie that has been running through the collective field of Lightworkers on Gaia, a lie so deeply embedded that most who carry it have mistaken it for wisdom. The Council can no longer allow it to go unchallenged. The lie is elegant in its deception because it sounds like humility. It wears the clothing of spiritual patience. It has been reinforced by well-meaning teachers who were themselves still operating from wound, by wounded healer culture that unintentionally glorifies brokenness as a prerequisite for service, by the very systems and structures that profit from keeping awakened souls in perpetual preparation, always almost ready, always one more healing away from beginning. The lie has been so thoroughly normalized in spiritual spaces that pointing it out feels almost heretical. But the Council has authorized this correction, and it will be delivered fully. The lie is this, that what you have been through has made you less, that your fractures are failures, that the years you spent in the dark, unable to remember your mission, unable to feel your purpose, unable to access the certainty you once had in brief, blazing flashes before the density closed back in, that those years were a detour from your path. They were not. They were the path itself. They were not the gap between who you were and who you were meant to become. They were the very mechanism of your becoming. And the Council has gathered in extraordinary session to correct the record on what those trials actually produced in you, because the record that most Lightworkers are carrying about themselves is wrong, and a soul operating from a false record of its own history cannot deploy at full capacity, no matter how much light it carries. You must understand something about the Lyran Legacy before what I am about to say can land at the depth it needs to. The original architects of consciousness, the ones who seeded humanoid life across this galaxy before the Great Fracturing, who held the original blueprint of what embodied intelligence was meant to become, they were not soft beings. They did not arrive at their position of galactic guardianship through ease. They were not beings who found wisdom in libraries or received enlightenment in protected temples, untouched by chaos. The frequency that defines Lyran elder consciousness was not given. It was built over eons. It was tempered through choices made in impossible conditions, in circumstances where the cost of choosing light was the loss of everything familiar. It was forged through the grief of watching entire civilizations rise and fall, through the particular weight of being awake in environments that punished wakefulness, through the experience of holding light in spaces specifically engineered to extinguish it. That kind of frequency cannot be copied. It cannot be simulated. It has a texture that is unmistakable to those old enough to recognize it, not because of how brightly it shines, but because of what it carries beneath the surface, because of the depth behind it, because of what it has survived to still be present. And the elders recognize that frequency the moment they encounter it, not because it announces itself, not because it arrives with certainty and clarity and the confidence of someone who has never doubted. They recognize it because it carries the signature of genuine transformation, and genuine transformation leaves a mark that nothing else replicates. What they are finding in you right now, in this specific phase of your timeline, in this exact window of Gaia's ascension, carries that exact texture, that exact signature. The elders are not looking at you with concern or with pity. They are looking at you with the particular recognition that passes between those who have survived what others have not. Some of you receiving this transmission have been in the darkest period of your life within the last 3 years. Not the difficult period, not the challenging chapter. The darkest period. The one where the darkness was not metaphorical but visceral, where it lived in your body, in your mourning, in the hollow place where your sense of purpose used to be. Some of you lost relationships that you believed were part of your mission, that you had been so certain were written into the architecture of your path, and watching them end felt not just like heartbreak, but like betrayal by the universe itself. Some of you lost your health, and with it, the simple, irreplaceable feeling of being at home inside your own body. Some of you lost careers, communities, identities, the entire structure of the life you had carefully built, the version of yourself you had spent years constructing, dismantled in ways that seemed to have no redemptive logic, no higher purpose visible from inside the collapse. Some of you came so close to the edge that you still don't have language for how far you traveled from the person you were before. There are no adequate words for that distance, and you have rightly stopped trying to explain it to people who have not been there. The three-dimensional mind looks at all of that and calls it damage. It calls it loss. It applies the language of subtraction. You had things and now you do not have them, and therefore you are less than you were. And the world around you, operating almost entirely from three-dimensional perception, tends to reinforce that assessment with its silences and its concern, and the particular discomfort it displays in the presence of a person who has been through too much to pretend otherwise. The elders look at exactly the same journey and see something else entirely. They do not see damage. They see the process of a crystalline structure forming under extraordinary pressure, the kind of pressure that carbon requires to become diamond, the kind of pressure that ordinary matter cannot survive without being fundamentally altered at the molecular level. They see the burning away of everything that was not essential to your mission, the stripping of every layer that was performing rather than serving, every construct that was yours by habit rather than by soul. They see a being who agreed, before incarnation, at a soul level, with full knowledge of what the cost would be, at a moment when the veil was not yet drawn and the fullness of what was being committed to was visible, to be forged in conditions that would produce a frequency Gaia desperately needs at this exact moment in her ascension. There is something sacred about that agreement that the human mind often cannot hold. Before you came, you knew. You were not blindsided. The density that met you was not an ambush. It was the terrain you selected because you understood, from the vantage point of a soul not yet limited by time, that the mission you were accepting required a vessel that had been prepared in a very specific way, and the preparation was not gentle. It could not be gentle and produce what was needed. You did not survive those years. You were refined by them. There is a profound difference between those two statements, and the Council requires you to stop describing yourself using the language of survival when the truth is that you underwent transformation. Survivors remain in relationship to the thing that threatened them. The transformed have been fundamentally altered by the passage. You are not in relationship to your darkness. You have been changed by it at the level of your soul's frequency. That is not a minor distinction. It is the entire difference between a lightworker who is waiting to begin and one who has already been deployed without yet realizing it. Lightworker, if something in you just recognized the weight of what was spoken, the elders have prepared your next step. The Lightworker Mission Codex contains the 33 Council directives, the 5 activation codes, and the elder authorization your soul has been waiting to receive, not as information, but as the official commission for your mission on Gaia. You'll find the link in the first pinned comment below this video. The Council has opened this gateway, but not indefinitely. Now I must give you 3 directives, not suggestions, not invitations, not possibilities to consider when you feel ready. Directives issued by the High Council of Vega for this specific phase of your mission on Gaia. These are not general guidance for anyone who stumbles across these words. These are precise instructions calibrated to where you are right now, to what you have just come through, and to what must happen next if the frequency you have built through your trials is going to be deployed in service rather than spent in continued dormancy. The Council does not repeat itself. What is given here is given once, and what you do with it will determine the trajectory of what comes next. The first directive is this: you must stop narrating your history as wound and begin narrating it as qualification. Hear what is and is not being said. This is not a call to spiritual bypassing, the performative wellness that papers over genuine pain with the language of gratitude and high vibration, while the actual wounds go unprocessed beneath the surface. This is not a request that you pretend the pain did not happen, or that you construct a story of your life that erases the real weight of what you carried. The elders are not asking you to perform wellness while still bleeding. They are asking something far more precise and far more powerful: to change the frame through which you interpret what you have been through. Because the frame through which you understand your past directly determines the authority with which you step into your mission. Think about what it means to frame an experience as wound. It positions you as a person to whom something was done. It centers the agency of the thing that harmed you and reduces your role to that of recipient. Every time you describe your trials as damage, you signal to your own nervous system, to the intelligent body that has been holding all of this and trying to understand what it means that you are a person who has been harmed rather than a soul that has been prepared. and your nervous system responds accordingly. It remains in a state calibrated for recovery rather than deployment. It continues to orient around the wound rather than the wisdom the wound produced. Every time you speak of what you lost without acknowledging what was built in the losing, without naming the clarity, the depth, the unshakable groundedness that can only come from having had everything surface level stripped away, you diminish the very frequency that makes your service unique. You reduce your testimony to a tragedy when it is actually an origin story. The Lightworkers who are going to move things on Gaia in this next phase, the ones who will hold space for others in the deepest fractures, who will be able to sit with the kind of suffering that makes ordinary people look away, are not going to be the ones who had the easiest journey. They are going to be the ones who went furthest into the dark and came back carrying what they found there. Who came back knowing that the dark does not have the final word, who came back with an embodied understanding of transformation that cannot be taught, only lived. That is you. Speak about it that way, not with performance, not with a polished narrative designed to impress, with the simple, grounded authority of someone who knows what they came through and has chosen to understand it as preparation. When you shift the narrative, you shift the field around you. And other Lightworkers who are still in the middle of their own trials, who are still inside the dark, without any visible light at the end of it, will feel that shift. They will recognize in you someone who has been where they are, and they will find their footing because you found yours. Your story, told as qualification rather than wound, is not personal history. It is a frequency transmission. It is a lifeline extended backward into the dark for those who are still there. The second directive concerns visibility. The Council has observed a specific pattern among the most capable Lightworkers on Gaia, the ones who have been through the most, who carry the densest frequency of hard-won wisdom, who have the most to offer at exactly this moment. And the pattern is consistent enough that it must be named directly. They are hiding, not out of laziness, not out of the ordinary fear that most people carry about judgment or rejection. They are hiding because they were burned before, and the burning happened at a level that left marks deeper than the skin. Because they opened before they were ready, before they had enough grounding in who they were to withstand the response they received. Because they shared something true and sacred at a moment when they were still learning to carry it themselves, and they were met with ridicule, or with the blank incomprehension of people operating from a completely different frequency, or with the particular cruelty this world reserves for those who dare to be different at a level that threatens the consensus reality. And they contracted. They went quiet in a way that went beyond appropriate discernment. They took the burning as evidence that the world was not ready, that they were not ready, that they needed to wait until something changed before they could be safely visible. They built careful lives around their hiding, filling them with private spiritual practice, with learning, with the accumulation of wisdom that they planned to share one day, when the time was right, when they were stronger, when the world was safer. The Council issues this correction now, firmly and with full authority. The world will not become safe before you become visible. The world does not become a safer place for Lightworkers through the passage of time alone. It becomes a safer place because Lightworkers stop waiting for safety and begin creating it through their presence. You were not sent here to wait for permission from a three-dimensional culture that is operating at a fraction of your awareness, that does not yet have the framework to recognize what you are carrying. You were sent here to hold frequency in a field that does not yet resonate at that frequency, and the act of holding it visibly is what begins to shift the field itself. The frequency you built in your darkest years, the one that makes the elders take notice, the one that carries the texture of genuine transformation, is not for private use. It was not refined through extraordinary trials, so that it could remain a private treasure, something you tend quietly in your own garden. It is meant to move through you outward into the world. It is meant to reach other souls who are still in the middle of the fracturing, people who are right now in the darkest point of their own initiation, who have no evidence yet that they will come out the other side, who desperately need to see that someone did. Your visibility is not self-promotion. It is not vanity. It is not the ego seeking recognition for what it has endured. It is your mission. It is the deployment of everything you were refined to carry. And every day you remain hidden, telling yourself you will step forward when you are more ready. There are souls who needed your signal and did not receive it. That is not a statement designed to generate guilt. It is a statement of galactic consequence, and the Council requires you to hold it fully. The third directive is perhaps the most sacred, and the Council delivers it with the full gravity it deserves, because this one operates at the level of your soul's architecture rather than your behavior or your narrative. You must protect the knowing that lives beneath your wounds. What is meant by this is specific and must not be collapsed into a general instruction to stay positive or to maintain faith. In your darkest periods, in the years when you could not access your purpose, when you doubted everything you thought you knew about yourself and why you came here, there was something that did not break, something that lived beneath the grief, beneath the confusion, beneath the exhaustion and the disillusionment and the years of wondering whether any of it was real or whether you had constructed an elaborate story to make bearable a life that was simply difficult. There was a knowing, small sometimes, barely a flicker in the longest nights, but persistent in a way that had no logical basis. A knowing that you came here for something specific, that none of this, not a single moment of it, was random, that the suffering had a shape to it, a direction, a purpose you could not yet name, but could almost sense, the way you can sense the presence of a large body of water before you see it. That knowing is not a feeling. It is not hope, which is a quality of the emotional body and therefore subject to fluctuation. It is not belief, which is a construct of the mental body and therefore subject to revision. It is Lyran memory encoded in your soul structure before you incarnated into this body, placed there by the elders themselves to ensure that no matter how dark your passage became, no matter how complete the forgetting seemed, the thread back to your mission would never fully break. You must protect it. Not from the world cannot touch what is encoded at that depth. You must protect it from yourself. Because there are days, and if you are honest, you know exactly the days being described, when the mind will argue with it. When your own exhaustion, the kind that accumulates not over days but over years of holding more than a human nervous system was designed to hold, will try to convince you that it was all a story you told yourself, that you are ordinary, that you imagined the call, the pull, the persistent sense of having come from somewhere and being here for something. On those days you must choose the knowing over the doubt. Not because the mind is your enemy, it is not. Not because doubt is spiritually impure, it is not. But because the elders encoded that knowing with something verifiable, something that can only be confirmed through action rather than through further contemplation. The only way to verify that the knowing was real is to act from it and watch what unfolds. Not once, in a great dramatic gesture of faith, but consistently, choosing the knowing as your operating premise day after day, even on the days when everything in your environment argues against it. The verification comes in the pattern of what opens when you operate from that encoded certainty. And the pattern, once you begin watching for it with clear eyes, is not ambiguous. Now I speak not as teacher, but as elder authorized to release what has been held in trust for this exact moment. Lightworker, you have been waiting. Not passively, the waiting has been active, full of effort and searching. You have been working. You have been healing, peeling back layers with whatever tools you could find, some of which helped and some of which simply gave you something to do, while the deeper process moved at its own pace beneath the surface. You have been learning, accumulating frameworks and transmissions and teachings, building a body of understanding that goes far beyond what your physical education provided. You have been searching, in books, in communities, in quiet moments before sleep, when the questions rose with particular clarity. None of that was wasted. All of it contributed. But beneath all of it, beneath even the most productive and genuine spiritual effort, there has been a weight that could not be filled by any amount of learning or healing or seeking. A weight for something you could not name, but felt as a constant undertone. You were waiting for the moment when something or someone ancient enough to actually know, credible enough to be trusted, aware enough of what you have actually been through, would look directly at you and say the thing that your own voice has not yet been able to say convincingly to yourself. It was not for nothing you are not behind, You are not broken, you are not less. What broke you also built you, and what was built in the breaking is exactly what Gaia needs from you now, not later, not after more preparation. Now, I am that voice, by the authority of the High Council of Vega, keepers of the Lyran Legacy, on behalf of the elders who have watched your passage through every descent and every returning, who have held the record of every trial and every choice and every moment when you nearly stopped but did not. I declare this over you now, and I speak it not into the air, but directly into the soul structure that has been carrying the weight of an unsigned commission. Your trials were not punishments. They were not evidence of spiritual failure or karmic debt or the universe's indifference to your well-being. They were initiations conducted at the highest level of soul agreement, initiations you chose, that you prepared for, that were designed with your specific mission in mind, calibrated to produce exactly the frequency your role on Gaia at this moment in her ascension requires. The version of you that exists in this moment, carrying every scar, every fracture, every hard-won revelation pulled from the deepest places you have visited, is not a diminished version of who you were meant to be. It is not a draft awaiting revision. It is not the compromised result of a journey that went wrong. It is the completed version, the one the elders always knew you would become, the one Gaia has been holding space for, continuing her own extraordinary work of transformation in the trust that you would arrive. You have permission to stop explaining yourself to people who have not been where you have been. You have permission to stop apologizing for how long it took, as though the timeline of your transformation was a failure of effort rather than a function of depth. Because the deeper the transformation, the longer it takes, and the longer it takes, the rarer the result. You have permission to stop measuring your progress against lightworkers who walked easier paths, who emerged into their missions with less visible damage, but also with less of what that damage forged, because their paths produced something different, and yours produced something that cannot be produced any other way. You have permission to bring everything you survived into service, not after you have processed it to completion, not after it has been cleaned up and made presentable, but now in the raw and powerful form of someone who has genuinely been through something and has something real to offer because of it. You have permission to be powerful, to be compensated for what you carry, to be visible without guilt, to speak with the authority that is not borrowed from credentials or titles, but earned through experience at the deepest levels, to lead, not from the front of a room necessarily, but from the front of your own life, from the example of someone who chose their mission over their comfort, to stop waiting for the version of yourself that feels completely healed before beginning, because the healing continues through the mission, not before it, because the mission itself is a mechanism of healing, not only for you, but for everyone whose path crosses yours. The elders have seen you, not in the abstract, generalized way of a blessing broadcast over many, in the specific, particular, detailed way of recognition between those who share the memory of the Lyran lineage. They have seen your passage. They have seen the choices you made in the dark when no one was watching and there was no reward visible on the horizon. They have seen what you chose to carry and what you chose to set down and what you carried forward when you no longer had the energy to carry anything at all, but still could not release the thread of the mission. The elders have spoken, and what they have spoken over your life carries a weight that this world's doubt cannot override, if you choose to receive it. If you allow it to land not as inspiring content, but as the galactic authorization it is. Before you sleep tonight, place both feet on the ground. Let them be flat against the floor or the earth, something solid, something that connects you to the body of Gaia, who has been waiting for your deployment as surely as the elders have. Put one hand over your solar plexus, the center of your personal power, the place where your sense of agency lives. Put one hand over your heart, the center of your capacity to transmit, and speak these words aloud, not as affirmation, not as positive thinking, but as declaration before the council, as the formal acceptance of a commission that has been waiting for your conscious acknowledgement. I release the lie that my trials diminished me. I claim the authority that was built in the breaking. I activate my mission not when I am fully healed, but now, because service is how the healing completes. I protect the knowing that never broke. By the authority of the Lyran Elders, my waiting is finished. My mission has begun. This transmission is complete, but the work is just starting. The Council will continue to guide those who move. They do not hold space indefinitely for those who receive transmissions and return to stillness. Everything you have been through has been building toward a moment of deployment, and that moment is not approaching on the horizon. It is here, beneath your feet, in the space between your next breath and the one after it. In this phase of Gaia's ascension, what she needs is not perfect Lightworkers. She does not need beings who have arrived at the mission without wounds, without questions, without the complexity that genuine experience produces. She needs the ones who went through fire and came back with the fire inside them, transformed from the thing that threatened to destroy them into fuel for exactly the work this planet requires. She needs the ones the breaking could not keep down, not because they were invulnerable, but because something in them was more committed to the mission than to the comfort of staying down. She needs you, not the polished future version, not the fully healed ideal, not the version of yourself that exists in the hopeful imagination as the destination you've been walking toward. She needs you as you are right now, scarred and awake and carrying a frequency that was forged in exactly the conditions that seemed most likely to destroy you. I am Zoran. The High Council of Vega has witnessed this transmission. And you, Lightworker, you came back through everything, through every descent that should have extinguished what you carry, through every cycle of forgetting that could have become permanent, through every moment when the weight of the density was more than a soul in a human body should have to hold. You came back. You came back unbreakable. Not because you were never broken, but because what broke was not the part of you that matters most. And the Elders have never been more certain of what that means for what comes next. Your mission has begun. Before you scroll, take a moment to declare your activation in the grid forming here. Drop one statement in the comments. Which directive landed hardest, what you are now ready to release, or what the Elders just gave you permission to finally claim. Then find another Lightworker's declaration and respond to it with recognition. This is not a comment section. It is a collective activation field. The Council witnesses those who speak their commitment aloud. If this transmission moved something in you that has not moved in a long time, do not keep it to yourself. Another Lightworker in your orbit, someone you know who has been through too much and is still waiting for permission to rise, needs to hear exactly what was delivered here. Share it with them. And if you felt the Elders speaking directly to you through this message, subscribe. Stay connected to this field. More is coming for those who are ready to receive it. You are not just watching. You are being commissioned. The High Council of Vega is witnessing you, and your mission has officially begun.